Booster 18 suffered a violent overpressurization failure during early stage testing. Ship 39 becomes the first fully stacked version 3 Starship. China is launching an emergency Shenzhou spacecraft for a micrometeoroid strike, which forced an unexpected crew return. My name is Connor, and welcome to another episode of Spaceflight News. Starbase is shifting quickly towards the version 3 era of Starship. At Pad 1, the original launch complex is being dismantled at an unusual pace. The launch mount legs were pushed down one after the other, the draw work system for the tower arms were fully removed, and much of the old tank farm plumbing, pedestals, and hardware disappeared within days. SpaceX is clearing the area for a cleaner, more durable flame trench configuration to support the upcoming flight cadence expected with the future Starship program. Across the site, Pad 2 is steadily coming online as the new operational backbone. Both the methane and oxygen quick disconnect hoods for the version 3 booster are now fully installed, and teams are making alignment adjustments to the upper lock segment. The redesigned ship quick disconnect arm rolled out as well, a heavier, more capable arm with 3 swivel joints and a dedicated actuator already staged nearby. The new end effector was delivered to Sanchez for outfitting before installation, setting up the full Pad 2 stack for future testing. Booster 18, the first version 3 Super Heavy, experienced the only major setback so far, but it was a big one. After rolling into Macy's for initial gas pressurization tests, an overpressure failure opened a large section of the lower LOX tank and it exposed the internal transfer tube structure. The failure left the booster standing but heavily compromised. The site itself was luckily unharmed, but the ship was ruined. SpaceX will now transition to the next V3 booster, which is already moving through production as we speak. Elsewhere, work continues without any pause. The S39.1 structural test article was transferred to Megabay 2 and is now welded onto its stand. These sequences that we can see show just how prepared SpaceX is to retire any old hardware to make way for the next generation of Starship version 3 architecture. Nothing is spared, the past makes way for the future. Over at Macy's, the upgraded ship static fire stand is nearing readiness. The new quick disconnect plate is integrated, propellant lines run almost to the top interface, and the new ship clamps are already installed. The flame trench cover has been slid back over the opening, while the methane farm blast walls have been poured on one side with formwork underway on the other. With these upgrades in place, Ship 39 will have a complete testing environment once it receives its engines. Taken all together, the week shows a clear shift. Legacy systems are being removed very rapidly, and new infrastructure is slotting into its place. This era of Starbase is going to be looked back on fondly as we realize just how much change to the infrastructure has taken place. Now onto news this week. Sierra Space's Dream Chaser program crossed critical milestones this week as the vehicle completed its electromagnetic interface and compatibility testing at Kennedy Space Center, followed by a series of high-speed runway tow tests. Dream Chaser, originally intended for recurring ISS cargo flights, now stands on a narrower NASA contract that covers just a single mission in late 2026. And it's not to the ISS. The shift reflects Sierra Space's pivot towards national security applications, suggesting the spaceplane may transition into a specialized, defense-oriented craft rather than a commercial cargo workhorse. Even so, the company maintains the ISS mission, and the future commercial space stations remain possible pathways depending on demands and further funding. Meanwhile, China is preparing for an unusual and urgent crew rotation operation at the Tiangong space station. A micrometeoroid or orbital debris struck damage at the Shenzhou 20 spacecraft, forcing its crews to return aboard the Shenzhou 21. That decision left the incoming Shenzhou 21 crew without a lifeboat in the event of a depressurization or fire, prompting China to accelerate the launch of the Shenzhou 22. The Long March 2F is now slated to lift off around 11:10 p.m. Eastern on November 24th to restore escape capability aboard the station. a rare but revealing demonstration of the knife-edge operational risk crewed stations face when redundancy collapses. Over in Washington, a bipartisan report to Congress warned that the United States is losing the strategic high ground of space to China. The US-China Economic and Security Review Commission describes Beijing's space program as mind-boggling in speed and scale, propelled by a fully dual-use ecosystem in which commercial companies, state-owned companies, and the military operate as one integrated machine. The report directly urges Congress to significantly increase Space Force's funding, modernize threat modeling, and better simulate China's rapidly advancing orbital capabilities. The tone is blunt as hell. If the United States does not accelerate, China will seize dominance in the next major domain of military power. NASA news also took an unexpected turn this week. Jared Isaacman, whose earlier nomination to lead NASA was withdrawn in May, will undergo a second confirmation hearing before the Senate Commerce Committee on December 3rd. Senators reportedly plan to question Isaacman about events since his first hearing, including NASA's budget request earlier this year that proposed steep cuts and his controversial Project Athena policy plan. The process signals political hesitation surrounding NASA's future directions at a moment when leadership stability is crucial for Artemis, Mars planning, and agency-wide restructuring. In science news, NASA released a long-delayed set of images of interstellar comet 3I Atlas, captured from spacecraft across Earth orbit and all the way through to Mars. Some images have been held back during the 6-week government shutdown, but the newly released dataset confirms that Atlas is indeed a true comet and not an artificial object, likely originating from a planetary system much older than our own. The images provided are rare observational material for comparing how comets evolve in different stellar environments. DARPA also advanced one of the most exotic spacecraft concepts underway today, an air-breathing satellite. Redwire secured a $44 million expansion of its Otter Very Low Earth Orbit mission, which relies on the company's SabreSat bus, designed to operate at altitudes as low as 90 kilometers. At this level, atmospheric drag is really severe, so the satellite counters it by using an electric propulsion system that ingests trace atmospheric particles and uses it as propellant. It was a compressed but heavy launch window this week, with missions firing almost back-to-back across 3 continents. The headline NASA mission of the week was Sentinel-6B aboard the Falcon 9, a key Earth observation satellite continuing global sea level monitoring. The launch occurred from Vandenberg, and while the stream quality was oddly poor for a return to launch site mission, the booster landed flawlessly on its 3rd flight, marking the 500th reflight of a Falcon first stage, a milestone few thought was even possible just a decade ago. Rocket Lab added to the cadence with its Black Sky Gen 3 launch on November 21st. Coming off from New Zealand, the Electron lifted off, cleanly marking another entry in the company's push towards rapid, high-frequency commercial missions. This was part of a broad pattern. Rocket Lab is now flying at the fastest pace in the company's history and has already reached its highest yearly launch count ever. On top of that, SpaceX dominates the manifest, executing 4 Starlink launches in 4 days, November 19th, 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, from 2 separate Florida pads. Each carried the now standard 29 satellite configuration enabled by recent deployments and mass optimization upgrades. The mission spanned SLC-40 and LC-39A, with both shortfall of gravitas and just read the instructions stationed downrange. These combined flights pushed the total active Starlink constellation above the previous monthly highs, continuing SpaceX's consolidation of the low Earth orbit broadband network. Another week, another shift in the landscape of space. Hardware rises, legacy systems fall, and every test, whether breaking or failure, pushes us closer to the next generation of vehicles that will reshape humanity's future beyond Earth. The pace isn't slowing, the horizons keep expanding. Thanks so much for watching, we'll see you guys next time. Bye.